In the early days of World War II, a terrifying new strategy lit up the battlefields of Europe like a lightning storm. It was fast, it was devastating, and it changed modern warfare forever. This was Blitzkrieg, Lightning War. In today's documentary, we take you deep into the chaos of World War II to witness how Nazi Germany shocked the world with its rapid and ruthless conquest across Europe. From Poland to Paris, we'll uncover how speed, surprise, and coordination allowed Hitler's forces to dominate entire nations in days, not months. This is the story of Blitzkrieg in action. The concept of Blitzkrieg wasn't born overnight. It evolved from the horrors of World War I, a war of slow-moving trenches and drawn-out bloodshed. In the aftermath of that conflict, German military thinkers like Heinz Guderian envisioned something radically different. A war that would be mobile, mechanized, and overwhelming. A war where tanks didn't support infantry, they led them. Where airplanes didn't just harass enemies, they shattered their defenses from the skies. By the late 1930s, the Nazi war machine was preparing for a new kind of conflict. A fast-moving assault that would use tanks, motorized infantry, and air power in perfect coordination. This was no longer a war of attrition. It was a war of annihilation, and it was ready to strike. On September 1, 1939, Hitler launched his invasion of Poland. At dawn, over 1.5 million German troops poured across the border. But this wasn't just a traditional invasion. The Luftwaffe bombed Polish airfields and cities before their forces could even mobilize. Then came the tanks, panzers cutting through weak spots in the Polish lines, advancing with terrifying speed. In just 5 weeks, Poland had fallen. Its army was outmaneuvered, its defenses shattered, and the world took notice. The Blitzkrieg had arrived. For months after Poland, Europe held its breath in what came to be called the Phony War. But in the spring of 1940, Germany struck again, this time with deadly precision. Germany invaded the Low Countries, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, not just to conquer them, but to distract France and Britain. The real blow came through the Ardennes, a dense forest the Allies thought impassable. They were wrong. German panzer divisions stormed through in a matter of days, bypassing the Maginot Line entirely. The French and British were stunned. In just 6 weeks, France surrendered. Paris was occupied, and Europe was in shock. What took 4 years in World War I had taken just over a month in World War II. So how exactly did Blitzkrieg work? There were 3 key elements. Speed, German forces avoided drawn-out battles. They aimed to disrupt, outflank, and paralyze enemy units. 2. Surprise. The enemy never knew where the main thrust would be. Feints and fake attacks masked the true offensive. 3. Coordination. Blitzkrieg required flawless communication between the Army, Air Force, and armored units. This required radio-equipped tanks, fast-moving engineers, and an air force that could clear the skies and destroy targets on the ground. The result? A force that could strike anywhere, anytime, before the enemy could even respond. But Blitzkrieg wasn't invincible. Its success depended on rapid movement, fuel supplies, and short lines of communication. In the Soviet Union, Hitler's overconfidence would be his undoing. Operation Barbarossa, launched in 1941, began with familiar Blitzkrieg tactics. But by winter, German tanks were bogged down in the vast, frozen Soviet landscape. The Red Army learned quickly. They stretched the lines, resisted retreat, and began to counterattack with overwhelming numbers. Blitzkrieg, once seen as unstoppable, met its match in the east. Despite its eventual collapse, Blitzkrieg left a permanent mark on military history. It forced nations to rethink how wars were fought. Tanks, air power, and rapid mobility are now cornerstones of modern warfare. The world had seen how quickly nations could fall, and how devastating coordination, technology, and sheer speed could be. The shadow of Blitzkrieg still looms over every military strategy board to this day. The world watched as Blitzkrieg tore across the map of Europe. It was a storm, terrifying, fast, and nearly unstoppable. But it also exposed the dangers of overreach, arrogance, and the belief that wars could be won quickly. In the end, it wasn't Blitzkrieg that won the war. but it did start it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dive history documentaries. And let us know what moment in history you want us to explore next.